Good morning, everybody. We will begin our service with the ringing of the temple bell. At this time, please silence your cell phones and listen quietly as the sounding of the concho is an invitation to settle our hearts and minds as we prepare to receive the Dharma. Thank you.
Namanab, 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 namanab.
Aloha. Thank you for attending today's Dharma Family Service. I am Higa Gray, and I will serve as your MC. Assisting at the temple with technical support is the Zoom crew of Joey Guzman, Stephen Kaneko, Wendy Terada. Corinne Chong is our organist, and Betty Takioka will lead the singing. Please rise and let us start the service with the Vandana and Tisarana. Please chant both the Pali and English parts together with Reverend Blayne. Those of you on Zoom, please mute your mics.
Namo tassa bhagavato Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Please remain standing. Reverend Blayne will now share an aspiration.
Please join me in Gassho to reflect on the words of the Buddha from the Samyutta Nikaya. And how is it, monks, that by protecting others, one protects oneself? By patience, harmlessness, loving kindness, and sympathy. It is in such a way that by protecting others, one protects oneself. I will protect myself, thus should be the establishments of mindfulness be practiced. I will protect others, thus should be the establishments of mindfulness be practiced. Protecting oneself, one protects others. Protecting others, one protects oneself. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.
Please be seated. It is now time for the offering of incense. We invite all Sangha members in attendance to please come up and offer incense if you wish, starting with the front rows and moving towards the back. Let us observe a moment of silent meditation.
Namandab, 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 namandab. Namandab, namandab.
Reverend Blayne will now lead us in chanting the Sutra Jusege. Words can be found on page 54 in the Red Service Book. Again, page 54.
The Buddha of infinite light and life made vows to embrace all beings equally without exception. These vows promise to create a perfect world where no suffering or evil exists and guides us to supreme awakening. The Jusege, or verses reaffirming the vows, is a poetic summary of the basic intention of the 48 vows made by me, the Buddha, to attain supreme enlightenment, to save all who are suffering, and to declare universal liberation through the name, Namo Amida Butsu. We chant the words of the Buddha as a reminder of these great vows of compassion made to liberate and to awaken us all. Namandavu, 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 namandav, 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 namandav.
Please rise for the Gatha, homage to Buddha. Words can be found on the handouts and on the screen.
When the sun at morn is rising, shedding round its glorious glow, we to Buddha duty render with our bodies bending low. When the golden orb rise higher, and at noonday floods the sky, we in praises of our Master raise our voices clear and high. When at evening flaming glory sinks the sun into the west, we give thanks and homage tender ere we to go to our rest.
You may be seated. Today's Dharma message will be shared by Reverend Blayne.
Namandav, 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 Hi, good morning, everybody, and happy spring. Well, it kind of was looking like spring earlier, but a little bit cloudy and kind of cold now. As we begin this new season with its promise of renewal and new beginnings, we hope to leave behind the winter of our discontent that has swept across the country and world. Every day we see new acts of cruelty and intentional harm which have profoundly impacted the lives of real people, families, and communities. It's heartbreaking to see how empathy and compassion have become dirty words, especially to a certain billionaire who sees empathy as a weakness and the root of society's problems. However, given all that's been going on, I would never have guessed having empathy for others is the biggest problem facing our world. I would argue that the exact opposite is true. The lack of empathy and compassion is the biggest problem facing our world. We should heed the German and American philosopher Hannah Arendt's warning of how the death of human empathy is one of the earliest and most telling signs of a culture about to fall into barbarism. Fundamental to the Buddhist path and to all spiritual traditions is the cultivation of empathy and compassion for oneself and others. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha says, "And how is it, monks, that by protecting others, one protects oneself? By patience, harmlessness, loving kindness, and sympathy. It is in such a way that by protecting others, one protects oneself." When we awaken to the truth of interdependence, that we are all profoundly connected, and how we necessarily live in relationship to one another, we realize that no one is an island
alone in this world, that no one succeeds by themselves. This is the toxic myth of America that we need to let go of. We need to cultivate the heart of a bodhisattva who sees strength in empathy and compassion, and who realizes their own liberation is bound with the liberation of others. That no one is ever left behind, that only together do we all rise above and move ahead, never leaving anyone back. The head abbot of the Nishihonganji, Gomonshu Kojun Otani, writes, "Living with the Dharma as my guide softens my rigid heart and mind. Gratitude for the gift of life I have received frees me from becoming lost in greed and anger, and allows me to share a warm smile and speak gentle words. Sharing in the joy and sadness of others, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest." Here is the direct guidance for cultivating empathy and compassion, recognizing we are all connected. This is the true and real way to live our lives, which will lead to happiness and reduce the suffering in our world. I want to share with you a story which illustrates how we can offer ourselves kindness and compassion, just like we offer it to others. Maybe if we offered ourselves and others a little more kindness, we could transform our world for the better. So this is the story of Listening with My Heart by Gabby Garcia. Esperanza's tummy fluttered as she practiced her lines on the porch. Today was the class play. Waiting for Mama to walk with her to school, she paced back and forth when she spotted a heart-shaped rock. Esperanza picked it up and showed it to Mama as soon as she stepped outside. "I see you found a little treasure," said Mama. Esperanza rubbed its rough surface and felt a twinkle of joy. "Maybe it's a sign." "For what?" asked Mama. She thought about the class play later that afternoon, wondering what it would finally be like in the spotlight to put my heart into everything I do, she answered. At that moment, they heard scratching and a soft cry. Esperanza peeked under the stairs and spotted a kitty shaking and shivering. No Mama in sight. She scooped the kitten into her lap and cuddled her. "She's all alone. I think she's hungry." Esperanza reached for her lunch bag, pinched off a piece of chicken, and offered it to the kitty, who gobbled it up. "Mama, I think the rock is a reminder to spread kindness and love. That's what we do when we listen with our hearts." "I think you're onto something," said Mama. "Can we keep Cleopatra, please?" asked Esperanza, who already named the kitty. "Queens are always welcome at our house," said Mama. "If she's still here after school, we'll take her in." At school, Esperanza was more focused on the play than on math or reading. Clutching her script during recess, she noticed Bao sitting alone on the bench. He was new in school this week and didn't speak much English. She wondered if he felt lonely or scared. Esperanza found a soccer ball and kicked it over to him. A smile spread across Bao's face. He stood, popped the ball in the air, and then bounced it between his knees and his head a few times. "The dude's got moves," thought Esperanza. They spent recess giggling and making up hand signals. Afterwards, Esperanza borrowed Mrs. Owen's English Vietnamese dictionary. She wrote "friend" in Vietnamese, drew a picture of Bao and her, and put it on his desk. Esperanza rubbed the rock in her pocket. Listening with her heart made her feel peaceful inside. Finally, it was time for the performance. And it was too late for Bao to be in the play, but he stood at Miss Owen's side as a stagehand. Excitement bubbled as Esperanza awaited her cue. Esperanza walked on stage, tripped as she was about to say her first line, and splattered across the stage. When she got up, she forgot her lines, so Miss Owen whispered them to her from backstage. Heat rushed through Esperanza's body. As all eyes were glued to her, she wished she could disappear. I ruined the play, thought Esperanza, rushing off stage as soon as she finished her part. I messed up in front of everybody. She tucked herself in behind some props so no one would see her. Esperanza noticed her body shaking and her face still burning. She took a deep breath and dug the rock out of her pocket. It was cracked and lopsided, just how she felt. Esperanza touched her hand to her heart and felt the disappointment. Bao found Esperanza a few minutes later and handed her a drawing with the word friend written above it. Esperanza nodded. She hadn't been treating herself like a friend. Esperanza realized that this wasn't the first time she had been unkind to herself. At the soccer game last weekend, she missed the ball that swished by her head and they lost the game. Nice work, a player from the other team called, as the others laughed. Esperanza thought she'd let her team down and was the worst soccer player in the world. Thinking those thoughts had made her feel even worse. At the curtain call, Esperanza reminded herself she hadn't ruined the play. She had an accident, and accidents happen to everyone. Listening with her heart wasn't just about giving kindness and love to others. It was about giving it to herself too. I can't be a friend to myself. I can be a friend to myself, thought Esperanza. When Esperanza got home, she focused on her favorite things. She zipped down the hill on her bike, then spent the afternoon painting at the kitchen table. She also got the hug she needed from Mama and some cuddles from Cleopatra. So this was the story of listening with my heart. Now, empathy, right, fosters understanding and reminds us of our shared humanity, that we can share in the joy and sadness of others with a boundless heart of compassion. Empathy is not a weakness, but rather is the way to heal our broken world. And so in closing, please join me in Gassho to recite the Nembutsu together. In trusting the dynamic working of all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion, we call the honored name of Amida, the Buddha of infinite light and life, with deep gratitude, abiding joy, and a heart-centered awareness for our profound connection to one another. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Mahalo.
Thank you for your message, Reverend Blayne. Glenda Yamagata Pasalakwa will now lead us in the unison reading of our pledge. Words can be found on the handouts and on the screen. Please recite the words out loud together with her.
Good morning. Please read along with me. Our pledge. Reaching out to others, I will share a smile and gentle words, just like the Buddha, who always calls out with aloha. Breaking away from my greed, anger, and ignorance, I will try to live in peace and harmony, just like the Buddha, who shares tranquility and kindness with all. Moving forward from self-centeredness, I will share a life of joy and sorrow with others, just like the Buddha, whose caring heart always embraces us. Realizing that I live because of others, I will strive to live life to the fullest with an attitude of gratitude, just like the Buddha, who promised to embrace us all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We will now have the offertory presentation. Mahalo for your generosity, which helps to sustain our temple. Please rise as we will conclude the service with singing of the Gatha Nembutsu.
Namandab, 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 namandab.
You may be seated. This concludes today's service. Here are some announcements. Next Sunday, April 6th at 10 a.m., Minister's Assistant Linda Nagai will officiate the service and share a Dharma message. Saturday, April 12th is Manju Making Day. The BWA would like to please ask for your kukua if you are available. Manju making starts at 7:30 a.m. Also on Friday, April 11th, they will be making on balls from 5 p.m. Any assistance will be greatly appreciated. Sunday, April 13th, we will celebrate Buddha's birthday with our Hanamatsu service at 10 a.m. The guest speaker will be Dr. John Matsuoko, retired Dean, University of Hawaii School of Social Work. You may pick up your pre-ordered manju following the service. At 1:30 p.m. that afternoon, there will be a special free film screening of a documentary video produced by Dr. John Matsuoka entitled Nawahina Buddha Kiakahi, The Legacy of Hawaiian Women Buddhists. Please plan to return to the temple and join us for this most interesting video. Dr. Matsuoka will be available for questions and answers following the video. Flowers are needed to decorate the Hanamido for the Hanamatsuri service. Those of you with flowers in your garden, can you please share them for this service? You may drop them off Saturday, April 12th by 11 a.m. Buckets will be placed by the conference room door near the temple bell. There's been a change, and there will be no Sunday service on April 20th. Sunday, April 27th, regular Dharma family service will be held at 10 a.m. Reverend Blayne will share a Dharma message. Are there any other announcements? Reverend Blayne? Anyone else? Wow, I don't know if that's ever happened since I've attended here. Okay. Those of you on Zoom, you may leave at any time. Those of you here in person, refreshments will be served in the conference room. Mahalo to Wendy Terada and Corinne Chong and anyone else who brought goodies to share. Your attendance today is most sincerely appreciated. Hope to continue to see you at future services. Please stay healthy and safe.